Last week I ran out of books to read, and so I went to my local bookstore, snapped a picture of the bookshelf, and asked ChatGPT to give me recommendations. This is the first of the 2 books that is suggested, and I'm so fucking glad I listened. In the 7 Moons of Maali Almeida, Maali Almeida finds himself dead, not remembering how he died, and being ushered towards the light, where he will be washed clean, where he'll forget everything, and be able to be reborn into another life. He does not go quietly into the light, and he resists because he doesn't want to forget. He's a war photojournalist during Sri Lanka's brutal civil war in the late 1980s, and he has some very important pictures that he wants the world to see, that the world has to see if he wants to save his country. And he has 7 nights to find a way to bring his photos to the world before he permanently loses the chance for a rebirth. The majority of the book examines his complicated past and the many men he's had sex with. And I mean, my God, this guy fucks like a lot and like everywhere. A bed, hallways, jacuzzis, taxis, temples, even war zones. Anywhere and everywhere, he's down to clown, and it's quite impressive. But the rampant sexuality is a distraction to the main point of the book. Should he go into the light or fight for what's right? Now, if I frame it in that language, I'm sure the answer presents itself as you have to fight for what's right, obviously. But that's because I'm siding with the protagonist here, who I've come to love. He's great. I love this character. The major point of the book for me, though, without the protagonist bias, is in the discussion between forgiveness and revenge. Do you try to fix what's wrong, and do you try to bring justice? Or do you forgive, move forward, and start anew? These questions aren't just social, but deeply religious, as my experience in both Catholicism and Buddhism have shown me. Don't judge, don't try to punish, just turn the other cheek and begin again. I have been done a huge injustice lately, and it took a lot of my energy in thinking about it and wanting to fight it. Small victories I fought for pumped me with adrenaline and bloodlust. But after a week of this, I realized how little time I was able to spend on the project that I wanted to develop, and how that lust for justice and for setting the world right bled into my time with my writing, with my friends, and with my partner. I decided to give up the fight and to move forward. Forgiveness is a gift that I don't just offer others. It's a gift that I offer to myself as well, to be able to clear my mind of the wrongdoing, to clear my mind of the pain, and to put my thoughts and energies towards the ways that I want to live my life. So for me, as someone who spent a lot of time digging into Buddhism, the answer to the philosophical challenge of the book seems simple and straightforward. Just move forward. Start again. You think you're special and that you need to do something to impact the world? So does every other dead and living soul here. We don't fix the past by staying focused on it. We build the future anew. Beginner's mind. Just start again. All else is folly. And this isn't just me saying it. There's a doctor of the light who's trying to convince Almeida to quit faffing about and just get into the fucking light already. And those discussions between the two of them in the Second Moon chapter are my favorite parts of the entire book. They're so good. In this section, he's talking with the doctor of the light, and she's so bored of his questions because she's heard him 1,000 times and she has shit to do. Maali asks, "Does it mean you got killed for nothing?" And she responds, "Nothing is for nothing, puta. You could have the lesson for free." "Did you see your killer's face? Do you think he feels guilt?" This is the in-between, not a place to loaf about thinking of useless questions. Do you wish you'd written more books or less? Nothing is ever enough down there. Ooh, that line hit me right in the jejunum. Ooh, we know it, don't we? We've all heard that enough is enough, but who has enough and is willing to stop wanting more? I mean, have you heard of capitalism? Maali asks, is God unwilling to stop evil or unable? Hey yo, grow up, will you? If the murder of one could save 100, should we sharpen a machete? Puta, you think each of the trillion bacteria who live and die in your carcass gets to meet you and ask you about their purpose? Ooh, that's so f***ing spicy. I love it. And one of my favorite lines, in pleading his case to show his pictures to the world, he tells the doctor, "I need the world to see what I saw." To which she responds, "That is ego. That is illusion." Oh, yes it is. Yes it is. I love it. I love this whole section. I love this whole talk. I love how the Doctor of Light is kind of taking this bodhisattva role of coming back from the light and trying to guide lost souls to nirvana. But she's not really doing it with compassion or empathy. There's no real holding space here. And again, this is another book where people just fucking suck at dialogue. And everyone wants to be sharp and witty instead of patient and empathetic. No, Dr. Buddhism here is easily annoyed. She probably could use a little bit more meditation. This might be her first few moons as a lightbringer, but I enjoyed hearing a sassy Buddhist for once instead of the syrupy and soothing ones with namaste voices. One thing I will say about the book that I didn't necessarily enjoy, in this discussion between siding with your messiah complex and trying to save the world on the one hand, and on the other hand, just giving into the sweet oblivion of Buddhism, there's a tug of war between activity and passivity, of doing versus observing. And to be honest, the most interesting parts of the book are the ones with the bloodlusty demons who are described so vividly each time with so much detail, with like cool spikes and necklaces and glowing eyes, while the Doctor of Light is always the same. There's nothing cool on her side. She's mostly just standing around, wearing white, and holding a book. That doesn't make for a good read. Or a good video for that matter. I really need some spikes and some glowing contacts. The author clearly favored the dark side, and it shows. And it wasn't necessarily fair. But nothing's fair anyways, and the book knows it as well. Here's page 18. Over a short and useless existence, you examined evidence and drew conclusions. We are a flicker of light between two long sleeps. Forget the fairy tales of gods and hells and previous births. Believe in odds and in fairness and in stacking decks that are already stacked and playing your hand as best as you can for as long as you can. None of this is fair. Don't believe in equality or equity and justice. The answer that this book seems to offer, with constant mention of fleeing to Tokyo or San Francisco, and one that resonates with me as well, is just to get the fuck out of here. Escape. Don't sit around fighting to change things at the cost of your health and of your sanity. Just pack your shit and leave. Don't participate with your time, with your taxes, with your life energy. Just go off to another corner of the world and be the best person you could be. I met a guy at the park recently who just moved to Portugal from America because, did you hear what's happening over there? Buddy, it's not just happening over there. Every government has its own flavor of being corrupt and its own skeleton closet of atrocities. Portugal isn't exempt. South Korea isn't exempt. Brazil isn't exempt. Spain isn't exempt. Just disconnect from paying attention to the endless quarrels of your government and move somewhere that you could be safe to putter about and live your life with a few close friends and family. That's all. And I'm sure that this message isn't going to sit well with some people who are deeply tied into the goings-on of the governments and the endless dramas they produce and think that it's super important to stay informed with all the scandals. My father left Poland 43 years ago and still watches the Polish news and is passionate about it and knows the names of the key players there, even though he's lived more than half of his life in Canada and will never live in Poland again. It's all just dramatics and has no impact on his life whatsoever. Read good literature instead and stop paying attention to the egomaniacs of your governments. Huh? Yeah, all right, let's get back to the book, hey? So let me warn you, this book is very gruesome. It's not all philosophical and spiritual dialogue. There's a lot of brutality, murder, death, and ways of dying that I'm not even allowed to say online without getting censored. It's abundant and at first overwhelming. But by the end, it takes on a similar kind of feeling to Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian, where you kind of get desensitized to the death and it loses its impact and importance, which again is, I think, a very important message of the book. The first pain hurts the most. The second one hurts too, but less than the first. By the 1000th, you're kind of numb to it. With the violence that happens to us and to our homelands, after a while, you realize it's not worth getting caught up in it. The land of the in-between is brimming with the souls of the dead, and you can't speak with the trillions of bacteria in our bodies and expect to give them all time to plead their cases. It sucks. I know. It hurts, and it's unfair. I know. and nobody is exempt. We are all going through it. We are all going to be brought to our knees one day. None of our stories are more special than anybody else's, and no one's pain is bigger than yours. So just move forward. Now, what I love about this book is that it's not the postmodern pity party that I get from a lot of contemporary writing. Everyone is a victim of something lately. And so too were the Sri Lankans of the late 80s. And so too were the Uyghurs of modern day China. So too is everyone, everywhere, all at once. And this book gives me such a delicious dose of meta-modern sway between the bleeding heart sincerity of Maali and the unflinching indifference of the universe. It's perfect. It's just the right balance. Because, after all stories are recycled and all stories are unfair. Many get luck and many get misery. Many are born to homes with books. Many grow up in the swamps of war. In the end, all becomes dust. All stories conclude with a fade to black. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you and I forgive you. Yes, you, even you. And before the story fades, consider subscribing to my Substack. At the end of this book, and this is a spoiler, obviously, so if you haven't read the book, skip this part and just subscribe to the Substack. Still, subscribe to it. Now, at the end of the book, Maali is working for the light and trying to bring lost souls to it. And there, he speaks with the ghost of a panther who wants to go into the light and to be reborn as a human. Why? Because he saw what we humans can make. And he tells Maali a story. When the cabins in Block 3 at Yala got electricity, I was impressed. I spent night after night hiding outside them, marveling at the fluorescent lamps. If barbarian monkeys could create something like this, imagine what I can do. Animals, if we don't think they're as dumb as we think they are, might look at us with wonder at what we've been able to achieve and would love to have the chance to do the same. What can we achieve in this life that we have as humans? What do you want to build? What do you want to create? What light do you want to bring to the world that will impress other animals? Psych. That's just ego talking again. Move along now. Stop thinking you're special. Almost got you there, didn't I? Come on.